All right, welcome back to the Starfighter podcast. It is Wednesday. We're doing our live show, and yeah, as always, you've got Dom and Ethan. How are you doing, man?
Doing great, dude. Just ready to talk some movies. Nothing too crazy going on this week, but I think we have some good stuff that we can talk about and some ideas that we've had for a while of stuff we want to go over. So
Yeah, definitely. There's not like you said, not a whole lot happening. So we thought we'd maybe switch it up today. Usually we do everything nerdy and mainly touch on like some entertainment news, but I thought maybe today we could switch it up and talk about our favorite movies. Hopefully, hear from the audience, hear from them and what their favorite movies are. And of course, to close things out, like we'll do our kind of final, like maybe hour or half an hour of talking about recommendations, possibly. So yeah, we'll plan for that. And there is a little bit of news, so maybe we can start out with that. And before we get into like our main topic about favorite movies.
yeah, for sure.
All right, so I guess probably the biggest one is what's going on with Warner Brothers right now. I'm not going to pretend to know all the details about it, but essentially, so I guess they're in business with AT&T, and it looks like the Warner Brothers, and by extension, DC, or we call it the DCEU, even though it's not necessarily like no one's ever said that that's what it's called. But anyways, it looks like they could be getting sold like to another company, and so maybe we could just do a little bit of speculation, kind of on what this could mean for the DC franchise. We haven't talked a whole lot about DC on our show on our channel yet, but I'm a really big DC fan. Um, Sometimes I kind of go back and forth. I'd say, I mean, Batman is my favorite superhero, so I might be slightly more of a DC fan than Marvel. But yeah, what do you think about this news? And maybe we could just talk about it for a little bit.
Um, well, I guess it's kind of hard to think about the implications it might have on their cinematic universe in general. As to how much might change. But kind of what we have Jake in the comments already. Kind of wondering maybe a clean slate is possible for DC at this point. Um, their their content is kind of all over the place, but it could definitely be. Um, I think if it's updated, it can be used very well. Like DC has a lot of content that they could explore. Um, Me, I don't think, sadly, that there would be a clean slate. And if it's possible, but they already have movies kind of announced right now that are being worked on. We have Black Adam, we have The Flash, and who knows what else they're working on right now. So I don't know. I would kind of hope for a clean slate, honestly, just because it's kind of all over the place, and it's a little sad to see it like that. Just because I think DC has a lot of potential, right up there with like a Marvel like scaled universe. Um,
Yeah.
like they might have even more that they could go into, honestly. So um, yeah, it's interesting to speculate on it for sure, just because there's a lot they could be doing. But yeah, I don't know. Sadly, I don't see that happening. I think they just have so many projects in the works right now that it'd probably stay the same. But I do think a change in like I think if it were to be picked up by someone else, I think they'd be wanting to replicate something very similar to Marvel because, that kind of universe does make a lot of money and it does work very well for a superhero franchise. So I think either way, if it gets bought out by anyone who has a better idea of, you know, how they want things to go moving forward, I think it could be very beneficial to the entire universe in general. So
So you don't necessarily think that it means a clean slate?
No, I think it's just I think it's hard to allow or I think it's hard to explain why there's a clean slate with anything that's already out there, you know? Like I think it's hard to just stop everything and like be like, all right, we're starting new. Um
Well, there's also, I should have mentioned this, there's talks that um like the showrunners, there's going to be a change when it comes to that, and people that are like heading the projects.
yeah.
And so I think that's where the potential of a clean slate could come from.
Yeah, for sure. I think in general it's definitely possible. But I think it would be more um, planned out in general. Like, I think the idea of where DC wants to go, and I think Warner Bros. Kind of has this in mind too. But I think anyone that's going to be dealing with DC wants there to be a solid universe to like build. So I do think there's a possibility of a clean slate. I definitely think it could work, you know, but to what extent, right? Like I think they might just take these characters that are already kind of there and kind of just start like building from the ground up with them again, trying to make this, cohesive universe. But yeah, it's hard to tell how far they're going to go with it and to what extent things are going to change. But for DC right now and the place they're in, that a clean slate would work. It's like if you're talking Marvel and a clean slate, never going to happen. But DC's kind of been all over the place the past few years. Like we just had a redo of their like blockbuster Justice League movie that had to come out because people were so dissatisfied, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like at that at that pace that it's going, the idea of them either making a clean slate or just like completely redoing like the just like how this whole universe is built, I think would make a lot of sense. I think either way something's going to have to change, but at this rate it's hard to tell if Warner Bros is going to make that change, you know. A lot of the stuff Warner Bros is talking about is literally just like kind of like prequel movies. Like it's just setting stuff up and trying to add to these characters, which is okay, but it's not really moving anywhere. You know, they're kind of like they all feel like their own one-offs in a way. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think a clean slate could work, but in general, I think just a restructure of how it's going to go moving forward would be extremely beneficial because I think they can live with whatever movies have come out and what they've done, but I think they need to make some big changes as to what they're going to do moving forward.
Right. I mean, to go a little bit deeper, there's two other things that we could touch on as well. Um, just like when it comes to DC, there's people like you mentioned that feel like we should definitely get like a cinematic universe and have things connect a lot better than they have. Um, Very similar to the structure of Marvel and how Kevin Feige is running all of that. I think that would be really great um, to see us finally get that from DC. But I've also heard, a handful of people that think they should kind of do what they've done with some of these one-off movies, or even like maybe a trilogy here by this director, a trilogy there. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that could work. You know, in general, I think ideas like that could definitely work, right? Again, it just comes down to the restructure of it all, right? Like I think in general having your own directors and people in charge of certain projects adds more structure to stuff, right? Like you know, look at the Russo brothers and the projects they had and kind of tying everything together and it made sense. Like going from Civil War to Infinity War to, like Endgame and all that. Like it made sense. So I think that could definitely work. The thing is DC can go and they can have these kind of separate, stories or whatever that they're doing or have separate projects, but they all at the end of the day need to merge together to some extent. And they could have been doing that, if they wanted to take Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, and Batman and Superman and do their own stuff with them individually, that could definitely work. Any projects in general could work like that. They're kind of doing that with Shazam in a way, kind of like building on that. But it really just comes down to how it's all going to come together. So I think, again, kind of going back to the whole restructuring thing and them getting bought out or whatever, like, it could be very beneficial. It might not be. It depends on what they're wanting to do. So it kind of hoping that just restructure in general is in anything, even if they want to figure stuff out on like a new kind of way to format it or to have different people direct or work on projects. I just think it would be better if there's an end goal, right? They had an end goal. Justice League didn't really meet that, and it just didn't work right because it felt rushed. Number one, but at the end of the day, the whole movie doesn't need to be centered about around this entire universe. But at the end of the day, it needs to connect to it, and I think that's where DC struggled. I think there's a lot of good movies. I think Wonder Woman movies are pretty solid. Like the last one, I don't think was terrible, but I think a lot of these movies need to end up somewhere. Like they need to merge together in some way that makes sense. So yeah, it's so hard to tell with DC. They're just all over the place right now, which is why
Yeah.
that structuring we've seen it in DC. I talk about it all the time. Their animated like universe that they have is insanely good and insanely well put together. Um, and they can clean slate that in 2 seconds and make it work because of how well they've done with it, right? Um, but it's like even if they were to do a clean slate on this DC universe, um, they would have to set it up, right? So that's kind of my thing. It's like either way, whatever they end up doing, they have to work towards it. So I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, I don't know if it would be as productive to clean slate everything as to it would be more productive to, I don't know, it'd just be more productive in general to I don't know. I think it'd be more productive just to work on stuff and have like a final goal in general and kind of just expand on what they already got. But it's kind of falling apart in the process too. Like you have actors leaving roles and everything and not signing up for more stuff. So they might just be forced to do something that might not be what they exactly want to do. So
Yeah. Nick says, "Sup, boys? What's up, Nick?" He also says Wonder
aside,
Woman movies are aight. So I'm curious to know if Nick saw Wonder Woman 84. Let us know. The other thing I was gonna say is going back to what you were saying, about the structure, and then they're kind of all over the place. I think I would venture to say a lot of the issues come from like certain working relationships with like the directors, the actors, and the vision, and people not being on the same page. Another another big thing too that um, is not like a secret is that we've been promised so many DC movies that have gotten pushed back so many times. It's absolutely ridiculous, and they don't seem to stop doing that either. Um, I mean, they talked about a Nightwing movie a long time ago, which was something that I was really excited for. I'm They even were talking about like which actor could play him and stuff too. I mean, we're just now like I think gonna finally get the Flash movie, but um, that was taking a long time too, and I'm still kind of skeptical to be
kind of
honest
kind
with
of ages. They're
that.
pulling a Black Widow on us, but that was kind of on them. Like not Rona.
Yeah, no, this is worse. This is definitely
Way
worse.
worse. Yeah.
And then like another good example of just like I don't know things just like not playing out well is Ben Affleck's Batman. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yeah.
he was going to have his own at at least one movie, but I thought possibly his own trilogy, and he was actually going to be co-writing and co-directing, and that all fell apart. and the story was supposedly really solid that he had written. Ben Affleck is a huge Batman fan, and it was going to center around Batman versus Deathstroke, which is something that I think fans would have, if it was executed properly, fans would have lost their minds over that. So that's a huge letdown. So um, yeah, I really hope they can get things together. I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, I was honestly very okay with the Ben Affleck trilogy too. Like I wasn't against it like at all. Like I don't think he was a terrible Batman. I thought he was like one of the best Bruce Waynes definitely, but even as Batman, um I think he definitely did a good job. Um yeah, it's just again like it's all this promise stuff, and that's the thing is they know what they want to do, but they can't do it. Like they have good ideas. When it comes to DC, it's like you can think of a solid Batman movie in 2 seconds. Like it's not that difficult. Like Deathstroke Batman, sign me up, you know. But the issue is that none of this stuff is coming to fruition, even though they've talked about it like a lot, and so um, it's it's definitely annoying. So
Yeah, definitely. We'll hit up these messages here in just a second. But I've heard too from this other podcast that I follow. This one guy he likes to talk about Ben Affleck's Batman, and in particular the way that this Batman works is that the portrayal that Ben Affleck did was he's Batman and Bruce Wayne is actually the mask that he puts on. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Hmm.
Which people would argue that that's actually how Batman is supposed to be portrayed. So um, there are quite a bit of people. He gets some heat sometimes, but there's also a lot of people that really enjoyed Ben Affleck, and I think he did a pretty decent job.
Yeah,
I
sure.
still prefer Christian Bale, but I didn't really mind Ben Affleck. No, I thought he did good.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's hear some of these messages. Let's see. Jake Hedge says, "Easy fix, maybe finish these movies by entering the Flashpoint and creating a new universe with new actors, but reboot the characters." That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I kind of want to talk about that for a minute because that's exactly what the animated universe did. But again, it's because they've set Flash up for a long, long time. Like throughout the entire universe, they knew that Flash could just reset everything, and I think Snyder tried to like show that a bit, um, and show that Flash has those powers, you know. But again, that stuff isn't really set up properly. Like it'd be kind of confusing, I think, to people when if he just resets everything. So like the Flash movie would literally have to be about the fact that he can do that. Like it would literally have to be revolved around the fact that he can turn back time, and then like go from there. So again, it's stuff like that where we know the character can definitely do that, but I think that stuff takes more setting up than has already been set up. You know, Um, so again, that's why I think it's possible for that to happen, but they'd have to go do a few more movies in order to set that up. I think it'd be
Yeah,
hard to just bluntly pull out a Flash movie and people be like, "Oh wait, so in this Flash movie they reset the entire universe?" Like, what if someone doesn't really see Flash or whatever? Because Flash is like a solo movie, right? It's like I haven't seen Aquaman. Like, it's movies like that where it's you got to kind of build it up to that.
gotcha. Yeah, I agree. Nick says, "I didn't see 84, but it looked like it could be good. I thought it was just okay." Ethan and I watched that together actually when it came out.
I think it's worth a watch. I think there was good
Yeah.
acting in it. I don't think it would
Oh
hurt.
yeah.
Like,
Gal Gadot
it,
is on point. I mean, she just really encapsulates the character of Wonder Woman. She's great.
yeah, I think it was great. It was just again the story. It was kind of it kind of felt like a one off. Like it was hard to tell if it was really going anywhere. So
Yeah. And I feel like the message like that the movie was trying to give off, like the ending message of the movie, I thought it was pretty good and like wholesome.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think I had a solid ending.
Jake Hedge says, I personally didn't see where 84 fit into any of the other movies with all of Wonder Woman's new powers that she never used in other movies. Yeah, that was interesting for sure. I think they, I don't know.
I think
They
there's
must
some
not have
things they
cared too
didn't really.
much. They just kind of went for it.
Yeah,
Um, okay, so we'll get this last message and then we'll move on to our main topic, I think, about our favorite movies. Nick says, thoughts on Robert Pattinson as Batman? I think that movie is going to be tight. What do you think?
I know that movie's gonna be tight. I I think it'll be interesting to see because this movie's definitely going more towards like a detective kind of deal, which I've always wanted with Batman. I think that's kind of what his original comics were more so based on, is he was a detective, and so I think I'm going back to those roots will be cool. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited for it. I think Robert Pattinson will do a good job as a younger Batman and all that. So I think it'll make a lot of sense, and I think the story's definitely planned out pretty well. Like from what we've seen, like it seems like a very classic Batman like take, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, me too. I mean that trailer is crazy. It's really really good, and yeah, the suit looks great.
Yeah, for sure.
Just everything about it, the vibes, really awesome. And you and I talk about the Batman cartoon show from time to time. That's something that we used to watch together as well, which is really underrated animated Batman series. But I definitely got vibes from that show. Which what was so great about that series is that it really did focus on Batman being a really good detective. And yeah,
Exactly, exactly. I think that's I love detective stories and all that, and I think Batman makes the most sense of like his power set and background. I think it makes the most sense for him to just be a really crazy detective. So
yeah, for sure. Jake Hedge, I was really excited about this movie. Haven't heard anything about it in a long time. If he's talking about the Batman, I know it got um, pushed back a little bit because Robert Pattinson actually had COVID, and there may have been some
yeah,
other
I'll do
people
it.
on set as well. Yeah, but I think it's still being worked on currently, and also I had never seen Robert Pattinson in anything until
Yeah,
Tenant, which I really loved that movie.
he was doing a lot of movies recently, like a
Yeah,
lot. So
yeah, his acting and um, you know the combat like choreography scenes that he did was really solid. So I have faith in him. Nick says I'll probably be Team Edward as soon as I watch the
oh my
movie.
gosh,
Oh my gosh!
unbelievable, unbelievable.
Wow.
Flashbacks.
All right, so there's a couple other little stories, but we can always circle back to those if we kind of run out of stuff to talk about. But let's jump into our main topic and let's talk about our favorite movies. So maybe we can talk about like our top five. What do you think about that?
I think that's solid. I think that's solid.
Yeah, and for our viewers here in the chat, let us know your favorite movies, and they don't necessarily have to be nerdy movies, but for me, I think all of mine are, or at least most of them.
Yeah.
Um, but Yeah, you want to start us out?
Um,
Are you going with number 5 or are you going with
I would
number 1?
definitely go with number 5. I gotta think about it because I haven't. I want to be more legit. For 5, let's put. Gosh, this one's difficult. For 5, I'll put first Amazing Spider-Man. Like I've watched that movie way too many times. This is the one with Andrew Garfield and the
Uh-huh.
lizard. Um, we've talked about it a few times, but there was the Spider-Man, the new animated series, and I loved the lizard and that thing like so much. Like lizard is one of my favorites just because like I love reptiles and all that, but I also thought it was just kind of like a cool character and like a cool concept, especially against a character like Spider-Man that's kind of the same like background in a way. Um, so I love that movie just because it was a different take, and I thought it was a bit darker of a tone for a character like Spider-Man. Because I've always seen like the animated shows and stuff where it was a bit lighter and everything. So having it darker, I thought was really cool, and I really liked it a lot. Andrew Garfield, I think, was a great Spider-Man. I won't like deny that. I didn't like the second movie as much, but I thought the first one was really good, and it's just a different take. Like I feel like every take we've seen of Spider-Man has been different, and so that's what I've really enjoyed about it. And I like that because that was the first time and probably only time I've really seen like a darker like Spider-Man movie where it's just like a darker tone.
Yeah, for sure. Good pick. Good pick. Um, Jake says, "You think Marvel can pick up Pattinson for a role, and who would it be?" That's kind of just a fun speculation question. I don't think that would happen, but if it did, who could you see him playing? I kind of like questions like that.
I do like questions like that. I That's a good question because I'm not exactly sure. Marvel's way better at finding characters like this than we are. Um, I don't know. I haven't thought of a whole lot of characters that he could probably do good with. Do any come to mind for you? Like,
Not really, but when me and my wife were like when we're on trips, sometimes we'll talk about like when this franchise is redone, like let's start casting like characters. We'll kind of play that game every once in a while, and so we talked about last time we played. Um, we were like recasting X-Men, and I don't know, maybe a mutant.
yeah, I definitely think a mutant makes sense. Like, I've been trying to think of. I think going forward, a mutant's also probably the most likely. Like, to be honest. But
I mean, I don't see him. It can happen. I don't really see him being in DC and Marvel, but um,
yeah, I don't think it'll happen, but I do think it's cool to think about that stuff. I'm just not really sure like what place would make sense. Like I'm just looking at a bunch of Marvel heroes right now because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll think of one, but
or it could be a villain too.
yeah, exactly, villains. Yeah, it's
What
hard
what if
to.
he was Doctor Doom?
I think that could be cool, like a younger Doctor Doom. They tried
Yeah,
doing that in the last Fantastic Four, right? Another movie I didn't see, but
another film we don't speak of.
exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think that could be cool. I think that's where they're gonna end up anyways. So who knows? But yeah, that's a good question. Maybe if Pattinson. Oh my god, this is a perfect one to go with it. Um,
Mephisto.
maybe Ralph's brother. You know, who knows? Um, yeah, who knows? That could be cool. But yeah, there's just so many Marvel characters and like deeper cuts of characters that we don't really think of. Like who thought of like Shang-Chi, right? Like we weren't really thinking that as a character that was gonna show up, but they found like a great actor for it, and it's I'm sure it's gonna be a great movie. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's hard to tell what they're gonna do, but I could definitely see it. I'm curious as to going forward, what like Marvel's feelings are going to be on bringing in characters like actors that are in the DC universe. Like I don't know. So
Yeah, to answer Jake, if we're talking franchise or just plain movies, um, I mean, I'm gonna obviously have Star Wars in there, and so I'm just gonna put that as a franchise. But I guess it's kind of up to you.
yeah, I think that's the thing is I would see Pattinson more so being in like a Star Wars thing. I think Star Wars is very disconnected from like Marvel or DC in a way because it's not superhero, you know, like it's a very different universe in general.
I think what he meant, I think what he meant though is when it comes to us like ranking our favorite movies, um, if we're doing franchises or
Uh,
singular movies. So
Singular, but it'll probably be a lot of franchises. Is how it's gonna end
yeah,
up.
I mean, you can't. I don't want to just put like the Marvel franchise as one. You
I'm just
know,
gonna do all Marvel movies.
um, Jake says, "Do you think Pattinson would have made a good John Walker?" Good John Walker, yeah, I do.
I could see that for sure, for sure. I like the idea.
All right, so I'm gonna jump to my number five, and let's agree that we can change these out a little bit too, if later on something else comes to mind,
All right.
because we're kind of just doing this off the cuff. Um, yeah.
Like every
So
Star Wars movie, especially the sequels.
so for number five, I'm gonna go with Back to the Future. I really love both one and two. They're all good, um, but I'll go with number one. I think that's and this is one where since it's a trilogy, you could kind of just put the franchise. I think since it's only three, but
I think that could be
yeah,
cool too. Is maybe we can do a quick one of our top five like franchises or something like that, or
okay,
like movie stuff. I think
yeah.
that could be cool.
But all of those movies are just like feel good movies,
Yeah,
and a lot of people say Back to the Future one is a perfect movie. You know, perfect movie in theory, and I would probably agree with that. I mean, I've seen that movie tons of times too, and I don't know. I always really enjoy it. It makes me happy watching that movie.
yeah, for sure, for
Are you
sure.
a fan?
It's been a long time since I've seen Back to the Future. I did like it, but I wasn't crazy about it. Probably because by the time I was watching it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is just another movie my dad's gonna make me watch," you know.
No, that
But
they hold up, dude. They hold up.
yeah, no, they do. They definitely do.
Also, I remember thinking it was awesome to see um, when I first saw Back to the Future 2 to see him put on. I don't know if you remember this, but they go into the future, right? And then he gets like some new clothes from Doc, and like he gets these brand new Nike high tops, and they
Yeah,
like automatically lace, and then puts on this jacket and like automatically fits to size, and then he has this really cool hoverboard. Or actually, no, he breaks it off of. I think yeah, it's like a little kid's scooter, but it's like a hover scooter, and then
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
he breaks it so that it's just a board. Yeah, I always thought that was really awesome. So yeah, Back to the
for sure,
Future
for sure.
at number five. We'll throw it back to you. Also, waiting to hear from some of you guys. What are your favorite movies?
Uh, Number four. I'm gonna go a bit different on this one, probably because I grew up with it a lot. Um, I'm gonna take Curious George out of this one, but I like Wally. I love Wally like a lot. Like
Oh, okay. I did not see that coming.
Wally was one of the movies that I like the character of just like how like it's a robot, but they like make it so like interesting and all that. and the character and like the design of that movie in general, like did like inspired a lot of like my drawing and stuff for like a very very long time. Like I was always drawing robots and like just different characters kind of like that. Like I'd just take like a box or something and I'd try to like mess with it a bunch, kind of like turn to like a little transformer or something like that. But yeah, I love the movie. I going back, like I always thought it was like a funny concept and just like fun in general. But yeah, it's one of those movies where I think it's just like satisfying to watch it sometimes. Like I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's
I
probably one of my
haven't
most
seen it
watched.
in forever.
Yeah, it's probably one of my most watched movies ever. So that's probably my one Disney like solid or Pixar like solid Pixar take. But yeah, it's probably one of my favorite just like animated movies like that. Um, but yeah, there's so many good animated movies out there. Like the, making a list like this and taking it down to five is so difficult because like there's Into the Spider Verse and all that, and stuff like that. But watching like
Yeah,
Wally and all that, I think is like one of those nostalgic movies for me, and that's how a lot of movies are these days.
yeah, for sure. I haven't seen that in such a long time. I feel like I need to.
Yeah, I
I
want to watch it again now.
I know it's actually it touches on some deep stuff too. Again, I don't remember it too well, but
For a kids movie.
yeah, I mean Pixar and Disney they do that all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and you and I, like I was saying, we watched Wonder Woman. Actually, when you came to visit, um, the three of us we watched Wonder Woman, and we watched right after that we watched Soul, and
Yeah,
that was
real
just
good movie too.
a fun movie night that we
Yeah,
had. And yeah, both of those, um, yeah, Wonder Woman I thought was just okay. I thought Soul was really really good.
Soul took the cake over over
Yeah,
Wonder Woman. Yeah, it was a great movie. I think it was really relaxing and like just fun to watch for sure.
and I don't think you've seen Raya yet, right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, Raya and the Last Dragon is incredible.
Yes.
Definitely one of my favorite animated movies.
Yeah, I really want to check that out. I've heard so many good things about it. Like
I might
insane.
have I might have mentioned it to you as well, but there are some things that remind me of Star Wars.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's also kind of like the hero's tale, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, it's just kind of funny because like they're totally unrelated, but like the original script for episode 9, um, the story and kind of how it closes out, there's some similarities to that script, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so let's see, let's get some of these messages.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Jake says franchises that were my childhood: Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, the Mummy franchise, Star Wars 1 through 6, Spider-Man Generation 1 franchise. So I guess the Toby trilogy.
Yeah,
Nick says my all-time favorite movie is Tommy Boy, and Wally is amazing. It was amazing how much they could convey with minimal voice acting. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Is not a lot of talking in Wally.
yeah, yeah.
I've never seen Tommy Boy. Have you?
I don't think I've seen Tommy Boy before. No.
I've heard good things though.
Pizza time. Yep, yep, yep.
Nick says I completely forgot about Indiana Jones.
I always forget about Indiana Jones, but it's not forgettable. It's like if I think about it, it's definitely good. Indiana Jones is definitely good.
Yeah. Jake says hot take: Temple of Doom might be the best Indiana Jones movie. The dude is ripping hearts out.
Oh my god.
I never really got into Indiana Jones that much, to be honest. All right, I'm gonna hit up my number 4.
Do it.
I don't know. You said Into the Spider Verse, so now I might want to
I
swap
know
that
it.
out.
It's like it's one of those movies where it's just like crazy. Like there's just so many good like I don't even know. It's hard to.
I gotta think about it for a second. I don't know.
It's like whenever I'm thinking of one, like I know I'm denying one more. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to think as to different kinds of movies, and then my top one is Concrete.
I'm probably gonna just stick to what I have, and then I'll save, later on.
But no, if you
It,
guys
it
want
could
to do
kind
this show again in a week, that it will be different.
of. So I think Into the Spider Verse could definitely take one of these spots for sure. But I'll go with the list that I've made today.
Yeah,
So for number 4, I have Civil War. I talked about this recently, so I don't have to get into it too much. But just amazing movie, and love how they handled both Tony and Cap. I do kind of wish that um, Iron Man came out on top at the end, but the way it was all handled was still really satisfying, and also really enjoyed the introduction with Spider-Man and also what we got from Black Panther. All the fight scenes were incredible. The what was it, the mall scene, right?
uh, Airport was
Airport, I'm
good.
sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
airport.
it was in a
And
mall.
I know,
No,
airport,
I yeah.
and then of course like the bunker at the end with
Oh yeah,
Cap, Bucky, and Tony was just incredible.
yeah, for sure.
Music was amazing too.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have that one on my list, but no, I want it to be there because Civil War is probably one of my second best like movie going experience. Like I went to a full on like they had the marathons, and I went to like Captain America marathon where it was like all the Captain America movies and like Avengers and all that, and it was a super fun experience. I still have like the medallion from it. Um, but yeah, super cool. I love that movie. I'll always love the experience I had, and it's always going to be one of the best Marvel movies, like rewatchable. I feel because it's one of those
Yeah,
big cinematic events that I think it's different from the Avengers movies, but it's just as good. Like I think it's a very cool take on some like pretty serious stuff. So
and just the execution of like your main plot points, like how can we infiltrate from the inside, and how can we make it believable that these characters are really at odds with each other. And of course they're pulling from stuff in the Civil War comics, but they put their own spin on things. And so um, I thought that how things played out with Zemo and the way that he is the one that kind of um, sends everyone down this path and are now at odds with each other. I thought it worked really well.
yeah, for sure. I think it was one of those takes on. It was definitely a Russo brothers movie because it was like darker but in a different way. Like it was more serious tone, but it was in a different way of like they're like actually thinking about the value of superheroes and like the pros and cons of it all. And I think that was like a pretty good topic because you always think about that stuff in superhero movies, like when the Avengers take out like half of New York or whatever just in a skirmish. Like it's like, well, what's going to happen? Like what's the aftermath? And I think it like the topics that they talked about were definitely good and just super good movie. And I think it explains a lot for the MCU, and it sets up like the perfect ending to that chapter. So
Yeah. Nick says, watching that heart scene in Temple of Doom as a kid always freaked me out, but I agree, Temple of Doom is the best. Davis question mark says Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite movie. I wonder if that's Axeman. But either way, thanks for joining us. Keep sending us in your favorite movies, guys. Jake Hedge, Into the Spider-Verse gave me a headache when I saw it in theaters. I
Yeah,
don't know,
in 3D.
we talked about that the other day. It's just it's something else, that animation. It's amazing. Jake, Captain America movies are near the top for me. He has always been my favorite Marvel character. I always think back to some of the animated Avengers movies. There's one that was really, really good. I don't remember what it was, but it's what made me appreciate Captain America more.
For sure, for sure.
So what do you got for number 3?
I don't know. It's so difficult. I want to put like a funny one on there. I'm just gonna put a random one on there because I think it's kind of fun to get like personal with it all. Me and my friend Anthony, my mom forced us to watch a movie with her back when we were like 10, 11, like 11 or 12 or something like that. Pitch Perfect. And we every song in that, it got us like way too into music. And every song in that, like we thought the movie was hilarious. And we like would try and recreate like half the dance moves and everything for like a solid year.
Oh my gosh.
And I think it's a super funny memory of mine. Again, I wanted to put this one more on 5, but now that I think about it, it's one of my favorite movies just because it has like a lot of
Is it
funny
really?
memories. Yeah, it has a lot of funny memories from it. I don't want to, if I'm doing this honest, I'm going to put like 5 superhero movies in the front, okay? So I'm going for deep cuts here. And these are probably at like
Well, why don't you just do it honest?
10 or whatever. I don't know.
But I mean,
I
you can
want
do
it to be a
whatever you
bit.
want. You
I
can do
want to
whatever
be
you want.
bit different because these last 2 are like solid like movies that I also have a lot of like feelings for. Um,
I mean,
yeah,
if Jake Costello were here, he would totally back you up on Pitch Perfect.
exactly. I was gonna. Yeah, it was the first Pitch Perfect, Nick. So yeah, me and my friend Anthony thought it was hilarious, and it got us into like dancing and stuff. So when we would go to like parties and stuff, we'd be like trying to recreate stuff, and no, it was super fun. I'd probably put that one on my 5th now that I think about it, or like it'd probably be more like a 10th. But I thought it'd be a funny one to mention. Um, yeah, yeah. There's a freebie. You guys get to know a bit more about me, so that's what I'm going
Well, all
for.
right. I'm gonna go with a real movie. Um,
Good call. Good call.
no, I'm just messing. But yeah, I've got The Dark Knight at number 3. I mean, what is there really to say? Do you really even have to say much? It is
Mm,
it is a cinematic masterpiece.
I take Pitch Perfect back. Um, yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, everything, everything about it, entire story. Christopher Nolan's my favorite director. Um, the this internal struggle and like this moral, I guess, moral struggle about what kind of person are you going to become, and you know how far are you going to go before you reach your breaking point into becoming the villain. All of those things, I think, were just really executed really well, and it all packs an emotional punch at the very end of that movie too. I mean, Heath Ledger. Sorry, I can't speak today. Heath Ledger was incredible and is the best Joker out there. Don't care what they say.
It's a fact. Yeah, no, insane performances on both sides. Like I love the movie. So
Yeah, and Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors as well.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that I could go on and on about all the good
Yeah,
things,
we
but
both could. We could have a full on show about it.
yeah,
So
we'll probably have to do like a Dark Knight episode
yeah, for
sometime
sure.
at some point. Um, all right, let's go throw it back to you. We're going. Well, actually, let's get a couple messages. All right, where do I start? Oh, okay. Let's start with this one. Jake says, who has the best movie slash character arc in Marvel? Um, I would say Tony does, and I'll hear from you in a second. But I mean, he goes from really portraying this selfish, cocky, rich guy that only cares about himself, right? And is only looking out for himself. And then as he progresses, like you see it coming. He is actually deep down, he's the person to make the ultimate sacrifice for his friends, and that's why the ending for Endgame is so incredible. Like you see his story arc come full circle and just really pay off.
Yeah, for sure. It's really hard to compete with Tony, honestly. I definitely think his is probably the best, and it definitely went the furthest. I do really like Captain America's and Steve Rogers just more now after Winter Soldier, just because it kind of shows just how special he was in a way that even though he had all this strength and power and responsibility, that he still stayed like a good person, you know. So Steve Rogers is up there for me, but yeah, I think it definitely comes down to those two when we're talking best arcs and like character development. But I think Tony definitely takes it here, and just going from a selfish to selfless character throughout, I think was very interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. um Nick says thanks for sharing Paisano
I got you.
about Pitch Perfect. um yeah, Jake, we're gonna get more into recommendations towards the end of the show too. So if you have more, save those. But I do have to comment on this. Um, I absolutely hate Kung Pao. If it is the movie I'm thinking of, it's a comedy, but in my opinion, it's really really rough. I I don't know. It was also the company that I saw it with wasn't. I don't know. Didn't really make it a good experience too. So um, yeah, not for me. Not for me.
Well,
Nick says, dude, Kung Pao is super funny, but you have to like MXC type of humor, otherwise you won't find the movie that fun. Yeah, I didn't like it. In fact, I definitely didn't watch all of it through. I was pretty much done when it first started. That's just me though. He says, I hope one of you have seen it. Yeah.
I have not.
Nick says Kung Pao is free on YouTube with ads. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can you can pay me to watch that.
Guess we're gonna have to pay them with those ads, you know.
All right, so I'm going number two. So the only reason why this is not number one is because it's just the most obvious. And so number two, I put Star Wars, even though my number two and number one are kind of interchangeable because I mean, I don't want to go without Star Wars. Like I would take Star Wars, the franchise, over anything else in entertainment. It is absolutely my favorite, but I only put it in number two because I'm making it a franchise. You know what I mean? So if that makes sense. But and then if I had to pull out which is my favorite. It would probably still be Empire Strikes Back, and I still think that that's the best Star Wars movie there is. Um, but honestly, dude, and we're not talking shows. Mandalorian is becoming one of my favorite things from Star Wars. I think I've talked about this as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can't sleep on the Mandalorian. It's so incredible, and I just cannot wait for season 3. I don't know if you're like this, but like for me, and I hope I'm not repeating myself too much, but like when there's something that I just like really really enjoy, like a movie or a show, like I think there's some people that will just like keep watching it over and over, but I like want to like after I've seen it the first time, I want to like save it for like a special occasion, like oh we're going to have like a rewatch party like with some friends or
Yeah, for sure.
um also another time where I really like to watch my favorite movies is on the plane. Um especially cuz I'm more comfortable with flying now, but um I feel like enjoying like a movie on the plane would kind of like calm me down, and so or just make me feel more comfortable. So yeah, I like to save my favorite movies and not like watch them tons of times or shows. So
Yeah.
Star Wars is in number 2, but it really is my favorite franchise. What do you got?
My number two would also be Star Wars as a franchise. I, if I'm gonna pick one, it's probably gonna be Return of the Jedi. I love Revenge of the Sith. I love Empire Strikes Back, but Return of the Jedi, like when it was probably like the first movie I was really into. I hadn't really seen Empire Strikes Back. I don't think I had seen Empire Strikes Back or New Hope. I don't think I had really seen any of them. I had just seen Return of the Jedi. Um, I'd go to my aunt Abby's, and my uncle David was there, and it would be like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would be just be like, "Oh, Star Wars," and I would literally just rewatch Return of the Jedi over and over again, like the whole day. And so I was. It's probably always been my favorite Star Wars movie, just for that fact. Like I get a lot of like chills and nostalgia, like when watching it. And that kind of goes into what makes my favorite movie. But I think that's the best part about movies is when you get that nostalgia from it, and it really makes it special.
Yeah, definitely. I love Return of the Jedi too. Um so Jake asked favorite like holiday movies. Um, I don't think we're much into holiday movies in particular, but I mean,
Yeah,
I was just gonna say off the top of my head, not so much holiday movies. Well,
on holidays I end up just watching like Star Wars. Like that's the one thing I've
yeah,
noticed. Like on holidays, it's literally just like Star Wars. It's like, hey, if you have the day off and you're not doing anything, I end up just watching like Star Wars. Like
right.
that's really what, or like Marvel. Like I never, even the holiday movies are a thing. Like I've never really felt like the need to watch them when it was like holiday season or whatever. Like I literally just would end up watching like Star Wars or Marvel. So yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Star Wars fits everywhere. Like I remember watching like Star Wars movies would come out around like Christmas and all that anyways. Like, Force Awakens came out, right? Is like that was like it's like, all right, there's your holiday movie. So
yeah, that's true. I always
yeah.
tell people Star Wars is my holiday,
Yeah, it honestly is. Like it's one of those movies where
especially
it
in
just fits
December.
anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Watch
Um,
Hoth while it's freezing outside.
yeah,
So
but I remember liking Home Alone when I was younger too. I haven't
oh
seen
yeah,
those in a really long time.
for sure.
And then I know Jake is also a fan of the Mighty Ducks. I want to say that the first one kind of, um, it wasn't really a holiday movie, but it kind of took place, I think, during the holiday season,
Yeah.
winter season. Um, But yeah, love
Yeah, for
Mighty
sure.
Ducks. Mighty Ducks is definitely in my top 10.
You're like, it is my favorite.
It's in my top 10, but it didn't make number one. So is it back to me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So my number one, again, interchangeable with number two, but just a singular movie to put at number one is Inception. It's my all-time favorite movie.
There you go. I want to tell you a funny
Absolutely
thing.
love it.
I've never seen Inception.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dude, why?
I don't know. I haven't. I just haven't seen it yet.
Oh my goodness, dude.
It, it's definitely
The
up there
first
on the
first
list.
thing we're gonna do next time we
Yeah.
hang out.
There you go. There you go. Saving it. Yeah. Well, why do you love it so much?
Another cinematic masterpiece. Again, Christopher Nolan. Um, he can almost do no wrong. I mean, yeah, he put Tenant out at the wrong time to put out a movie, but
Well, that was wrong, but
it
besides
was
that,
it was still a really good movie.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, without spoilers, the story is incredible. The concept about dreams, and also I think dreams is something that the concept of how we dream and why we dream and what we can do when we're dreaming, all that stuff I think is fascinating to a lot of people, and he definitely just expands upon that, and really good use of imagination, but also things that are definitely um, possible, or to a degree, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah. I get that.
the thought of a dream within a dream, that is a real thing that occurs, and so he kind of takes that and runs with it a little bit, um, and goes a little bit, extreme, but still, it's just yeah, really fascinating.
That's awesome.
And then the main story is centered around also it's just a coincidence that it's my favorite movie, and Leonardo DiCaprio, his main character's name is Dom. Just a coincidence, but
Yeah, just coincidence.
also he's one of my favorite actors. Actually, he is my favorite actor. And um so the story centers around him being accused of like being the cause of his wife's death, or his ex-wife's death, and so that's why he can't go back to the states and be with his kids, and so he's trying to like clear his name, and it also plays upon this like these thoughts about making mistakes and being held accountable for certain things, and yeah, just some really deep hits. I mean, it's just really, really good.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely have to see it next time.
Yeah, it kind of just checks all the boxes that you want, like incredible action, incredible visuals, amazing soundtrack. People love that soundtrack or the score, and emotional um, hits. Yeah, it just checks all the boxes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's your number one.
This is the part where I'm wishing I had restructured my list a little bit because I have two that I really want to say, and I'll probably talk about them both just in case. Um, I do want to talk about Marvel a bit because, like, I've grown up on the MCU, like that. Those were my superhero movies. Like, I've seen all of it, Um, and so Endgame, like watching it, I get the craziest chills like ever. Like it just like I get the same chills I felt the night that I saw it, and I think it's awesome, like that feeling. Um, but I also want to talk about Pacific Rim because
I knew
I
it.
okay.
So what's your number one? What are you saying?
I'm gonna say Pacific Rim because number one, the soundtrack is insane. Number two, it's Transformers on steroids. And number three, I no one thought it was going to be that good. Like nobody I knew, anyone I talked about it to, didn't think it was going to be good. And I forced everyone to go see it with me. And the fact that I got them all there and then they
I
loved the
watched it with
movie.
you.
Well, yeah,
You
I
showed it
got
to me.
yeah, I got so many the first like when it first released in theaters, I got so many people to go see it with me and everyone like loved it. I'm like, I knew it was going to be good. Like I knew it was going to be cool action and stuff. If you're looking for a straight up like action like movie of like just stuff beating each other up, like that's up there. I love it. I think the visuals are better than a lot of like monster movies. Like even I think they're up there with even stuff like the Godzilla movies these days. Um, but yeah, like the attention to detail and everything. I love just like graphics and like design stuff. And like after seeing like how they made that movie and everything, um, I just love the I just love the way that they did it, and I thought it was crazy like how intricate everything was. I just love the design of the movie. Like it's literally everything I would want. Um, but yeah, I can't really think of anything that I think Pacific Rim's always going to be up there for me, just because I didn't expect it to be nearly as good as I thought it was. Um, and it's not that crazy of a movie. Like it doesn't have some crazy storyline or anything like that, but I think just how amazing the movie looked and the soundtrack with it and everything just like spoke to me. I thought it was like insanely good because I hadn't seen like there weren't any good movies like that. Like they hadn't come out with a Godzilla movie like that before, or like a Transformers movie to like that kind of scale or something like that. And so I thought everything just looked really really crisp and clean. So yeah, I love Pacific Rim. It is probably one of my it's my most watched movie ever, and that's a fact. So I think that's gonna have to be it for me. Um, yeah, I can make a huge list. Like if I actually did this list honestly, Pitch Perfect wouldn't be on here. Endgame would be like second or third.
We'll do a top 10 later on
Yeah,
at some point.
yeah. There's just so many good movies, and most of them have robots in them, like Real Steel. That's a whole other movie I get to
Uh,
talk about one day.
I'm not going to back on Pacific Rim. I need to give it another shot. I did fall asleep when I watched it.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I mean, I could have also just been tired too. So
No, no, it's not that crazy of a story, and it's not a good story. Like it's not that good. Like I'll admit that, but I just love the visuals to movies like that. And I think for the time, it was definitely groundbreaking. Like that attention to detail on something like that. Um, so yeah, I thought it was really good. Um, I just love the look of it, and I think the fact that like it holds up, like visually, it holds up to today's movies, is like what I really liked about it. Like I thought the first one looked better than the second one. Um, so yeah, I love the movie. I'll always watch it, just like if I want to see a good fight or something. But yeah,
Jake hasn't seen Inception either. I can't believe
we'll have
that.
an
That's so
Inception watch
crazy,
party.
man. Yeah, and we gotta watch Tenet again too.
Yeah, for sure. And Raya
Yeah.
and everything.
Um, he says Shutter Island is one of those movies I kept for special occasions, like once every 2 to 4 years. Gotcha.
That's my Pacific Rim now.
Oh, and then he also asked if Inception was like Shutter Island. I'm not sure because I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Shutter Island, so. Um, yeah, Jake saying I'm just saying the Mighty Ducks show is pretty good. Yeah, he talked about this. What was it?
Game night.
Game night. Yeah, guys, go watch our game night episode.
You better.
we're gonna do another one soon.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm watching it right now too. I really like it. It's just a feel good, family friendly movie. Did you ever get into the older Mighty Ducks stuff?
never saw it.
Man, you might like it. You might like
I
it.
yeah, I might.
At
I
least the first one,
mhm.
really good. Just a
We'll
fun
check it.
movie.
We'll check it.
Just a fun movie. And I love hockey too.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
after
I'll do it.
watching that, I've always wanted to. When I was little, I saw that. I was like, I really want to learn how to play hockey. Now I finally live in a state where I could
You could get away with playing hockey.
actually capitalize on that opportunity. So might have to do that. Um, yeah. Nick says when it comes to Pacific Rim, it's true. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, but it's definitely tight. And
Tight.
then Jake, he meant the '98 Godzilla was lit.
Which one was that though? Was that the? It definitely wasn't the '04 Godzilla. That was the only Zilla. The Zilla. That was the one I had seen, and I was comparing everything to. I had seen like some older Godzilla movies, like the old ones, like where they first showed like Mecha Godzilla and all that, and King Ghidorah. It's like you can't compare a costume to the visuals that were in Pacific Rim, like so.
Yeah. Well, hey, we probably have what, maybe 20 more minutes or so, maybe just a little less. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, guys, if you want to send in your recommendations, anything you are watching or games that you're playing currently, let us know those recommendations. We'll talk about them. If we have any, we'll give ours. But even before that, I do have a couple other like little stories that we could maybe touch on if you want.
yeah, sure.
Um, just really briefly, there's this Batman Cape Crusader series that's going to come to HBO Max, and J.J. Abrams, as well as Matt Reeves, who is doing the Batman, Robert Pattinson's The Batman movie. They're both working on it together, which I think is going to be really awesome. And I believe it's going to be a a story that like we were talking about, kind of like connects to other stories going forward, kind of builds a universe here.
Yeah, for sure.
But do you have any quick thoughts on this?
Um, yeah, so animated, right? I think it could be really cool. I've never been disappointed by any of that they've ever done. So, um, I'm definitely excited for it. I think any more Batman content along those lines is going to be good. Like I don't think they've ever really messed it up. So, um, the more we get, the better. I'll always take it. So,
Yeah, and I just think it's interesting. Well, it really looks like Matt Reeves is going to do a good job with his Batman movie or movies, live action. So for him to now be doing animated, I think that says something pretty good, and um,
yeah, for
I
sure.
think I think it speaks to them wanting to keep him around, and I think they probably have faith and confidence in him and
Testing
what
his
and
ability
yeah, and what he can do with Batman as a character and the stories that they could tell. And
for
then
sure.
it's also interesting that J.J. Abrams is just a really huge fan of so many different franchises, and both like sci-fi fantasy stuff as well as our um, science fiction like superheroes. Like I know he's also a really big Superman fan. He also, him and his son, um, not too long ago, I think it was either 2019 or 2020. Um, they did a Spider-Man comic run together, J.J.
Huh,
Abrams and his son, and it was pretty good. I read like the first two.
that's awesome. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, a friend just let me borrow his, um, so I kind of had just like easy access to him. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I think it's funny how J.J. Abrams is going to manage to make his way into every one of these universes, which is how talented he is with it, but also just how much he understands about them. So
Yeah,
I
definitely,
think it's good because he definitely has a lot of passion for comics and stories like that.
for sure. So there was that. There's also another little thing that came out. I think this was today. Is that, and I think this will be interesting, and it'll be on Nick's radar possibly because he's really into these retro games. But um, you guys might be familiar with like Nintendo's online service. You can get like the NES games as well as the Super Nintendo games. Well, the collection, what they have available at least. So
Yeah,
it's not everything, but it's a good variety. And so they're adding to that, and they've added, I think, 5 new games. So let's see. Yeah, so they have Caveman Ninja, which is also called Joe and Mac from 1991. And then they have Magical Drop 2. They have Spanky's Quest. Okay. They have Super Baseball
Super
Simulator 1000. And then Ninja
Tyler
Jaja
Blevins.
Marakun.
Huh.
I don't know any of these, but I'm just kind of like looking at them a little bit. And they definitely look interesting. Really bringing this up was to one, you know, hear from you guys if you guys are excited about any of these, and to maybe learn a little more from Ethan and then um, our audience here. But two, um, I'm a really big fan of Nintendo, so oh, okay, Nick doesn't know any of them. All right, no worries. Well, then the other main thing was to just say like any we could talk about any specific games that we would like to see them bring over to their collection for the NES and Super Nintendo. And I've been saying this for a while, but um, oh man, what is it? NBA Jam is one of my all-time favorite video games, and I just can't even believe that it's not already there.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, I will literally be putting in a lot of hours into that game if and when it finally comes
when
to
it
the Switch.
inevitably. Yeah, I
Have you ever played that game?
I don't think I have. No, no. I was never
So fun.
NES games.
It was a Super Nintendo one.
Super Nintendo. Only old school game I really wanted was I want N64 Mario. Like that was what I wanted. We got it, and now I'll probably never be able to play it on Switch again because of the demand for it. But yeah, yeah, nothing really comes to mind. I know GameCube games that I want, like I want Star Fox and all that, and maybe some Zelda games. But yeah,
Yeah, there had been some talk about like them also adding like a 64 collection and a GameCube collection, that sort of thing, which that would be amazing.
yeah, for sure.
Jake Hedge says NBA Street and NFL Street were the best sports games. I think that I played NBA Street a little bit. I think I remember playing that on PlayStation 2, and yeah, I liked it. But dude, NBA Jam, that's where
NBA
it's at.
Jam, it's the
That's where
jam.
it's at.
Yeah, I
Nick says I would share 3D All Stars with you if I could, Ethan. NBA and
get
NFL
over
Street were
here.
both awesome.
I, yeah, I want to play Mario 64. I'll buy a GameCube, or I'll buy everything I need. I'll get the emulator on my computer and we'll start speed running it. No, but
Nick's really into that too. I think
speed running
he likes watching. I know he's at least into watching occasionally like some speed runs.
just depends on what they're speed running. But yeah, I'm definitely down for it. Yeah, any maybe to kind of wrap up soon, but maybe any games that you've been thinking of playing recently, or that maybe you guys have some recommendations. But I have some games that have been on my sites and are now back on my sites thanks to a conversation we had earlier. Um,
Yeah. So we were talking last week a little bit about Dragon Ball, and I've always like wanted to get more into Dragon Ball Z. I've always thought it was cool, and I know a little bit about it, a little bit about the story. I know some of the characters, um, and so I've also been wanting to get into some new games and kind of challenge myself a little bit with like some other more like traditional fighters, and so
Mortal Kombat.
um, and so I decided I was gonna get Dragon Ball because um, Nick was telling me that it was, there's a really good sale right now in the Nintendo eShop. So yeah, I got the Ultimate Edition with some DLC content, um, or some DLC, and yeah, I'm gonna
How much is
be
it?
playing some of that,
How much is it?
dude. So the basic one that you can do is only $8. That's like the first package that they have, and then the second one, the Ultimate Edition, which is what I got, is $20.
All right, we're doing that one. I
Yeah. The
Because yeah, it has
final
like
one,
Jiren and all of them and all that.
is I think 80 or 90-ish dollars.
Oops.
Yeah. And
I
that's with like everything, I
yeah.
believe.
I So I went for the first. Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
let's
think I
bring
know
that up.
what I think I know what DLC characters those are then. So I went after we talked about a bit, because I think Psychic's podcast brought up how there's going to be another movie um being released at some point. So I went and rewatched Dragon Ball Super Broly, and I like that movie a lot. I think it looks really cool, and like I think just animation, all that on it is super awesome, like the fighting and everything. So I've been on a Dragon Ball fix recently. I rewatched like a bunch of episodes of um, kind of like the past like most recent episodes that they've been doing. But a lot of it is in comics too. Like I don't think a lot of people know that, but a lot of Dragon Ball is in the comics. They do a lot of comics on it, and the comics are really far ahead right now compared to anywhere the show's at. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, Dragon Ball Fighter. I don't know if people pronounce it Dragon Ball Fighters or Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I think it's Fighter Z, but um, super cool game.
I've heard both so many times, so
I love the fighting in that game. I played it when it first dropped um, for a bit, and I think it just works really well with swap ends and everything like that. Kind of like an actual traditional like you know fighter. Um, yeah, super fun game. I love it, and it looks really clean too. Like it looks like the actual show.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. Um, I have a game I've been playing a lot recently that I don't know if I recommend anyone playing this version, but um, Overwatch. Don't try getting into it right now. But Overwatch 2 is supposed to come out at some point in the near future, and that is a game that I think people can be excited for because super cool design and everything. But yeah, I Overwatch 2 is a game I'm really excited for. I have a lot of nostalgia for Overwatch. It's probably my most, besides Destiny, it's probably my most played video game ever with like competitiveness and everything. I've been getting back into that, but super hard to get into, like because it's a very difficult game these days. But um, Overwatch 2 is a game I'm really excited for. But Dragon Ball Fighter Z sounds super good. I think it's a really good fighter. There's a reason it was at Evo for a bit, right? Um, so yeah, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. Smash will always be my
Oh yeah, of
favorite,
course.
and still playing a lot of Smash Bros too. But yeah, excited to get into this. I've played a little bit so far. I got it like I think I got it Monday morning. Um, so far I will say uh, Goku Goku Black is probably my best character.
Yeah, Goku Black is super cool. I love Goku is always an easy one. I think I picked Gohan because they're pretty similar, and then I picked Majin Buu. But Gotenks is also a super fun character. So a lot of cool characters, and they're all cool designs too. So
Yeah, Nick just talks a little bit about how
exactly,
Fighter Z is really similar to Marvel versus Capcom. So yeah.
yeah,
And he also says, but Trunks though, Trunks is my favorite character.
Cloud on steroids.
But yeah, I think we can pretty much wrap things up there. Oh, also, I mean, I mentioned it last week, but Astral Chain, guys, I think it's one of the best Nintendo Switch games out there, and I'm still really enjoying the game, and the story is getting better and better as it goes on. So been doing that as well. And yeah, I think the show's been pretty fun today, Ethan.
Yeah,
Talked
for sure,
about
man.
a lot of things. It was interesting hearing each other's lists, and as well as getting to hear from you guys in the chat as well. But yeah, wrapping things up here. Let's see. Anything noteworthy? This weekend, we're going to put out episode 4
Yep.
for our Bad Batch review, spoiler review. So you can look forward to that coming out this weekend. Next week, next week's the last week of the month, right?
Should be. Yeah.
Yeah. So we should have some special stuff coming your way.
Yep.
So especially, I think Wednesday we might do a special show then. So stay tuned for that. Both our live shows, and then we usually drop another show on the weekend, like on Saturdays. So you can stay tuned with that. Continue to follow us here. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to our channel. We appreciate that. Leave us a like, leave us a comment. If you're watching this on replay, let us know your favorite movies. And of course, we're also wherever podcasts can be heard, audio form as well, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a good review. We also appreciate that. But yeah, anything else, Ethan? Or you think that kind of
No,
wraps it
nothing
up?
else. I think that's good.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, and thank you all for joining us today. We're going to head out. So we're signing off here at the Starfighter Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace.
We'll see you guys next time.